Hello and welcome to another episode of Wedflics. I'm Julia Braime, your host and editor of Unveiled magazine and also founder of Brides Up North Wedding Blog, the top UK wedding blog for northern couples. Today we are meeting my friend Freya Raby of Freya Raby Photography. She is talking us through everything couples who are looking to book a wedding photographer need to know. There's some great advice in this episode. Everything from how to pick your wedding photographer, how to do that research, to building a relationship with your photographer and what to expect on the day and afterwards. So let's jump straight into this episode. Watch out for a few dodgy sound variations, but on the whole, this one's a really good one. Rolling. So, hi Freya, and welcome to Unveiled Network's Wedflics series. This is Freya Raby. She's a Yorkshire-based wedding photographer, although she shoots all over the world. And really, I should have left it to Freya. Do you want to introduce yourself, Freya, and your business, please?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm Freya. I am a Yorkshire-based photographer. I do mainly weddings and couples, and I have a very documentary, natural approach to photography.
Fantastic. So how did your love for photography and then specifically wedding photography begin and develop?
So I got given my first camera on my 14th birthday, so over 10 years ago, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I was always the person who took their camera to school discos, and all their friends wanted to put their photos on Facebook and stuff. Yeah, I just absolutely loved it. But this wasn't the plan at all. So I'm very kind of like mathsy. So my A levels were like maths, further maths, physics. And I thought I wanted to go into finance, and then went through the whole A level, applied to uni thing, and had a very much head or heart moment and just decided my heart wasn't in it, was not in the maths, and I wanted to do photography. So had a year out, kind of pulled everything together, did some, was a bridesmaid for one of my friends, and took my camera along and just fell in love with weddings and people and moments. So yes, I've been doing this now nearly 4 years, I think. And I just love it, love everything about it.
Wow. So you took your camera along as a bridesmaid at that first wedding?
So I was kind of watching the photographer at the wedding and seeing what she was doing and what images she was capturing, and just wanted to be her and wanted that to be my job, and it is, and I love it.
Yeah, you're very, very good at it. So you already described a little bit of your photographic style as natural and obtrusive. So how does that kind of translate in a wedding? How do you achieve that?
So I very much have a kind of like fly on the wall approach. So I try to not change anything. Like on a wedding day, it's not a photo shoot. I am there to document, to witness and document everything that happens. So that's what I try and do. So if that means that your mum brings like Tesco's biscuits in the morning for you to eat before your wedding, then I'll photograph that. It's not like putting stuff on a tray and making stuff look really, really pretty. Like I photograph everything. Yeah, which just means I have that fly on the wall approach and try not to kind of touch and obstruct anything. Literally just document it all as it happens.
So if anyone wants to have a look at your work right now, Freya, as we're talking and discussing this, where's the best place for them to have a quick peep?
On my Instagram account. So my Instagram is just my name. It's Freya Raby. I post stuff on my stories daily, and then I tend to put multiple posts on, because I feel like with a wedding, you need to see more than just a pretty portrait of the bride and groom, because a wedding is so much more than that. So I tend to put a few different photos on one post so you can kind of get an overview of the wedding. And then I've got my blog on my website as well, which I'm updating at the minute with all of last year's weddings. So yeah, they're going on there.
You were talking about how you kind of photograph everything in the wedding, absolutely every little detail, whether it's, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that stuff. But what's really interesting is from your images, from my point of view, that are coming out of the wedding, all those moments are still really beautiful, and you're still getting, the knockout portrait shots and the sparkler things, all that sort of stuff. You're still getting all of that. So how do you do it? How do you still get the magic?
The pretty portrait bits.
Yeah,
as well.
because you seem to be getting all that as well as the documentary style stuff.
So a lot of my couples come to me because they don't like having their photo taken, because my approach is very like relaxed and natural and all that kind of stuff, but they still want really nice wedding photos as well as all the natural stuff. What I mean by that are the kind of portraits. So I've been to weddings in the past, and a lot of my couples have said about other photographers, them like going to weddings and seeing photographers take people off for literally like up to an hour to do portraits, and they've just said like, we do not want that to happen, like we want to be able to enjoy the day, which is fine. It's two completely different approaches to wedding photography, but they still want a few of those portraits. So what I do is literally allow like 10-15 minutes for portraits. So with the running of the day, that would tend to be in between the end of the ceremony and then the start of your food when you sit down for your meal. So in that time, I will just go up to them and be like, when you've got 10 minutes, when you feel like you've said hi to everybody, feel free, just give me a nod, and let's go and shoot some portraits of the two of you. And then if there's a kind of sunset or some really nice light in the evening, I go up to them and say, the light's really cool. Do you want to come outside? If not, fine. If you do, great. And then, yeah, we either go out and get the portraits, or they continue to enjoy their kind of wedding breakfast. And you still get the nice light inside, even if it's not like portraits outside. So yeah, for me, it's literally just allotting little time frames to be able to get a few portraits that they'll treasure. But at the end of the day, when you look back at your wedding photos, it's the moments that mean more.
Yeah, it
yes,
absolutely
it's nice.
is.
It's nice to have nice portraits, and that might be what ends up in a frame on the wall. But when you look back at your wedding photos, you want to see how your grandma looked at you when you walked down the aisle, and how your mum held your hand when she saw you for the first time after you got married. So yeah, for me, it's very much about like photographing the people and the moments, but I obviously still want to capture some of those kind of gorgeous what sits in a photo frame on your mantelpiece.
Yeah, everyone wants one of those.
Yeah.
It doesn't take all day to get them. That's actually incredible. That it is actually a lot. Even, you know, with my experience in the wedding industry, it's quite a short amount of time that you take the couple away for. Yeah, it's great, because then they're really in the flow of their day. They don't miss the canapes, they don't miss chatting to, you know, all their guests. And that is an important time. That is when you kind of get to speak to your guests mostly, isn't it, during that drinks reception at first. And it's a really exciting time as well. You've just said I do, you know, you are wanting to kind of share that moment with your nearest and dearest. So I think that's really nice. And I was going to ask you what inspires you in your photography, but I guess you've already answered that.
Yeah, literally the people. The reason why I love doing this so much is the people. I think if you go into the wedding industry with a love for pretty things, you're not going to get very far, because at the end of the day, like, weddings are long days. Like, I'll be shooting for 10-12 hours on a day, and you have got to love the people and everything that's going on around you. So yeah, as much as nice as it is to have really lovely venues and very pretty flowers and like a gorgeous dress and all that kind of stuff, yeah, the people that are in the wedding, which is why every wedding is different. I don't ever approach a wedding with like the same mindset, and I need to get this shot and this shot and this shot. Like, they don't fit into a box. Everything's different because the people are always different. So yeah, that would be my inspiration.
So in that case, what is your approach to capturing a wedding? How do you sort of set out on the day to do it if everyone's different?
Having a portfolio and being a few years into it, when you're new, you kind of want to get that shot for your Instagram, because people book you on generally having nice portraits. That's what captures people's attention when they're looking through your website and your Instagram are couple portraits. So you might go into a wedding and think, right, I need this shot at golden hour, and then the whole of the day you're thinking about getting that photo. Whereas now my head is on the moments and literally just witnessing everything that's happening and capturing that as it is. And it's really difficult. It is a bit of a thing in the photography world at the moment where we need to stop shooting for Instagram or for Pinterest. Because
absolutely. It has to be about the client.
Yeah, those platforms are so big, and we see these beautiful images and we think to be up there with the photographers, we need to be shooting like this kind of imagery, which is so not true. You've got to shoot for your client. So yeah, that has been like a really massive pivotal moment for me within the past year, probably.
So I come to it very much from a wedding blog, a wedding media point of view, and I'm obviously always watching photographers who I work with. I'm watching their Instagrams. I'm watching the general Insta sphere of influence as well. And what I'm finding is the photographers who are absolutely nailing it at the moment, and this may change again, are the ones who are being more real. So they're being real in their image sharing. They're being real in their captions. Their captions might be kind of funny or engaging as well. And I think that couples are now they see past this glossy veneer and they are looking for realism. And we actually also bring that into our shoots for the magazine as well. We bring some realism in as well as this kind of like glossy, aspirational standard. And I think that, if a couple are booking a wedding photographer, they need to be looking for someone who's going to bring sort of like a beautiful reality to life for them.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you've said about Instagram. It does feel like it's moving in the right direction at the moment, and it's not those picture perfect images that people are looking for or that are kind of gaining attention or traction, which is really important because nobody looks like that like all day on their wedding day, and that's not the reality of a wedding, and it's not what you should expect, I don't think, from your wedding photos. You need to see your day and all the realness that comes with it. So yeah, I do think that Instagram is moving in that positive direction at the moment.
It is, and I think as well, any images that are kind of, your old school sort of images, they do look old school, they look dated. And it's what is also interesting is, so I've been in this business for 10 years, oh God, and showing my age. And but what I've seen trends come and go in photography, because we obviously look at a lot of photographs in the real weddings that we share. And there are some trends that I would have thought would endure and endure and endure in my time. They haven't been particularly there haven't been particular filters or anything like that. It's been a beautiful style of photography, and those are starting to look dated. So the thing is, photography is moving on constantly. It's an ever evolving medium, isn't it? And and couples, it's good for couples to be aware of that and to do their research. So I guess, what advice would you give couples looking for a wedding photographer? Where should they start?
I think get an idea of what it is you are wanting from your pictures, and the kind of vibe you're wanting. There's a lot of different shooting styles as well as editing styles. It's a bit of a thing at the minute for some people to make the images quite kind of like dark and moody. Obviously that's some people's cup of tea and not some others. My editing style is very like kind of is how it is. I try not to tweak too much. Something that doesn't really age, I guess, is my approach, like a kind of classic look. So think about what you're wanting your final images to look like in terms of the edit, and then also think about what you're wanting on the day. So as a photographer and a videographer, we are the only two people you actually spend your wedding day with. So it's really important that we get on and you are happy with our approach. So if you want someone who's a little bit more directional, who will tell you like where to go and where to stand and kind of position you, then you'll probably need a more like kind of traditional photographer. Or if you just want someone to literally kind of be in the background and photograph everything as it's happening, then go for someone a little bit more modern, I guess, probably. But yeah, definitely meet your photographer. You've got to get on, you've got to be friends. Like, I am there with you the whole of your wedding day. If we're not mates, it's like, it's not good for either.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
Yeah, so just make sure you've got a good personality match, as well as liking the actual images at the end of it.
Yeah, so good advice. So first of all, the first port of call is to do your research, isn't it? So
yeah, absolutely.
So, and where could they do that research? What for now? I mean, we're filming this during and recording it during lockdown in the UK due to the coronavirus. So I guess this is a good time for couples to be doing a lot of research.
Yeah, so a lot of stalking online. Get on people's Instagram accounts. Obviously, Brides Up North, you share a lot of different photographers. Have a stalk of people who are like wedding planners, tend to share different photographers and different images, and just follow them and kind of follow their accounts. See if you like them as a person as well as images, and then blogs. Have a look at their blogs on their websites, and full weddings. Don't just look at the pretty portraits. Look at full weddings. See if you like their approach and their style to the full wedding day, because at the end of the day, when you get your images back, you're getting hundreds of images, so you're not just getting 2 nice portraits.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good piece of advice. That's why we blog up to 100 images on our real weddings as well on our sites, because it isn't just that headline image you're looking for. You are looking for a fully consistent set of images that flow, that go well together, not weird editing on some and different editing on another. It needs to work as a set because it's telling the story of your whole day. Yeah, I think that's really important. Interestingly, so we've just relaunched because it was up and running and we closed it down a few years ago, but we've relaunched because these times our new Brides Up North forum on Facebook, and I'll put the address for it here as well as an unashamed plug for my own business. But the reason I'm doing that is because it's been really eye-opening to me. I'm a person who works with photographers all the time, hundreds of professionals, and I recently started a thread in that group where I asked people to recommend great photographers, and for photographers to put their own link in there as well. That was fine too. And I came across so many new talents from that group, and I couldn't believe it. I thought I knew everything there was to know. So there's absolutely loads of people out there, lots of different styles of work. So once you've done your research, you don't want to be really hanging about, because particularly at the moment, photographers are booking up pretty quick for the next couple of years, I'd imagine.
Yes, absolutely.
Wowzers. So get in touch, reach out to those photographers, I guess, who you like the look of. And then what happens when a couple would reach out to you? What's the process then?
So I tend to interact with people whichever way they choose. So whether that's text or Instagram or email, I will respond via that channel, because that's the channel they've chosen to get in touch with me via. I respond within 24 hours with either saying I'm available or not. And then if they would like to go ahead, move on with the booking, either meet them in person. Obviously that's not doable at the moment, so Skype or a phone call, and just kind of have a chat through things, make sure we're a good fit, personality wise. That's really important. And then book them in, take a deposit, get them to fill out some boring paperwork bits, and then it's all done.
Yeah, so that meeting bit is really crucial, isn't it? Obviously this video will be out there after the lockdown's finished. So if you were going to meet with, right, so at the moment you do like a Zoom or a Skype. I think from this you really can, what's this taught me is that I never have to leave my house again.
Yeah.
Because you can actually get a real engagement across these channels, whether it's drinks with friends on Friday night or work stuff, or meeting a potential client. You really can get a good feel for someone. It feels like a face-to-face conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I much prefer, I'm a very visual person, obviously being a photographer, and I do like the face-to-face interaction. So I would much rather meet for a coffee at a Starbucks or something, and take like my albums along for them to like feel and look through. I think it's so important to be able to like see products in the flesh. I just think that's so much nicer, which obviously you can't really do via a video call. But yeah, you can absolutely do everything online, which is a little bit scary.
So you would advise that they, if they can, they get together with the photographer before putting down a deposit.
Absolutely, yes. Some photographers don't offer it face-to-face like meetings, mainly because of distance. Like some people are based in Cornwall and will shoot all over the country, so it's not possible to meet them. But yeah, definitely have some kind of like Skype or phone call, speak to them rather than just via email before booking.
Yeah, so there's two limbs to it, isn't there? There's the images and then there's the personality, and they need to marry together to get your ultimate photographer. And what about a pre-wedding shoot? Do you do pre-wedding shoots with all your couples, or do you offer them to some, or how does it work?
I do offer them, and I offer them in a package as well, which is my most popular package. So I'd recommend having a pre-wedding shoot because it kind of settles your nerves. A lot of people get really nervous about having portraits taken, especially being British. We're very don't like being showy and being in front of camera and stuff. So yeah, I'd recommend doing one before your wedding day. Then you know what to expect on your wedding day when it comes to the portraits.
So what actually happens on a pre-wedding shoot? So because some people might be nervous about that.
Yeah, so my approach is very chilled. We literally just go for a walk. You pick a place, any place, like a National Trust place or the Peak District or something, and we go for a walk and just kind of mess about in a field for half an hour, and take a few pictures. I tend to recommend places that I know are going to be quiet, and if people can like book an afternoon off work or something, obviously during the week it's really quiet. Pre-wedding shoots on a weekend tend to be a lot busier, so if you're nervous about it, that's not great because there's people watching. So yeah, weekday, like afternoon pre-wedding shoot somewhere, just go for a walk with your photographer, and have a few photos taken. It also, if you're a bit on the fence about booking someone as well, you could book a pre-wedding shoot, see the pictures. If you like it, book them for your wedding. If not, you've got some nice pictures together.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. What's really interesting about this is, to me, and I work in this industry and I style shoots for the magazine. I know how a photo shoot works. I know it's not scary. The idea of a pre-wedding shoot to me is more scary than the idea of the wedding day, and I don't know why. But I guess that for a couple who was nervous, to do that shoot, which really isn't scary.
No.
Once that's done, then they know that on their wedding day they can chill and relax and, just let you get on with being really kind of in the background, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely recommend doing it. And like, if you don't want it to be just the two of you and you've got a dog or you've got kids or something, turn it into that kind of thing, because generally like your children are going to be there on your wedding day. Kind of tie them in. Yeah, I've definitely felt, and I've had feedback from couples that have said, we're so glad that we did it, and on the wedding day we didn't even think twice about the portraits. So yeah,
of course you might get a bride or groom who is the other way and absolutely loves having their photograph taken, and really I guess that kind of has to, I mean, you work with that personality, but that also might help to set expectations the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've only had one couple who've been comfortable in front of the camera because they were models, and I originally met them on a corporate shoot. They were the model couple on the corporate shoot. So that was very interesting because they obviously got to see my style, and that I wasn't like, stand there, turn your face this way. Like, I just kind of let them do what they were doing, even on the like corporate shoot, so they knew what to expect from that. So yeah, it was good for that reason, definitely.
Yeah, and it's quite, I think if you get that sort of personality, I might be one of those people. I think sometimes it's nice to dial it down a little.
Yeah.
So you get like the nervous people and you get the really confident people, and you almost want to find like a level playing field, particularly if one of the couple is nervous and one is overconfident.
Yeah.
I think that's quite key from experience. So we've touched on this already, but as a takeaway, so your kind of top tips for people worried or nervous about having their picture taken?
Definitely the pre-wedding shoot. Have a look at different photos and see if you're self-conscious for a reason. For example, I don't like my shoulders. I would never wear anything strappy.
I've seen Freya. We lost Freya there, but let's go back to the shoulders. What?
So I used to do gymnastics, and I was a base in a pair, and I just feel like I'm really wide on top. Anyway, I don't like my shoulders.
Which she isn't. But know that if you book her for your wedding day, she will be able to carry a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, so I would never wear anything strappy, for example, because I'm conscious of that. So when I look back at the pictures, that would be the only thing I would see. So if you think you've got big ears or whatever, like, don't wear your hair up, wear your hair down. I think it's a thing about kind of preempting what you might see and scrutinize when you see the photos at the end. But in terms of like actually being nervous about it, it's the relationship between you and your photographer is so important. I put music on. I'll sometimes ask people what music they like, so get them to send me a playlist and then play that playlist when we're doing photos. Like you can do that on a wedding day, because when it's the portraits, it's just you and the couple normally as a photographer. Put music on so it's not like silent and you're getting them to be together. Just kind of sets the mood. So yeah, you've got to have a good relationship with your photographer and trust that they will get the best images out at the end of it.
And how can a couple, or the other way around, a photographer, build that trust? So we've talked about the music. Is it just about sort of talking and lots of touch points before the wedding?
Yeah, I think so. I follow pretty much all of my couples are on Instagram, so I follow them on Instagram and will interact with them on a daily, if not weekly basis. So I kind of know what they're up to and they know what I'm up to. I think it's really nice. I've had some people inquire via Instagram and I have met them for a coffee, and they've been following me on Instagram for like months up to that point. And when I've met them, it's like we're mates. Like, yeah, it's like I've known them for ages and we're best mates, which it's the loveliest feeling ever. So yeah, I just think having not just speaking to people via email, which is such like a robotic way to communicate nowadays, when you can like easily send gifs and stuff via Instagram message. That's very much like my approach to it. And I want to be your mate on your wedding day. I don't want to be your supplier.
What's your favourite part of the day to capture?
Oh, that's so difficult. Probably just after they've been announced as bride and groom, they walk back down the aisle and then they see all their friends and family and just like loads of hugs and stuff. I love it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that moment when they walk down the aisle and maybe like the confetti shot at the end of it as well is beautiful, isn't it? That's my favourite shot from a wedding. I also love the shot when maybe it's the bride kind of showing her dress to her mum or dad or bridesmaids for the first time. Yeah, that's so really lovely. It's always such a nice moment with everyone. That's a bit of kind of wedding planning advice. Definitely plan in time pre you walking down the aisle. Like when you're getting ready, allow at least an extra 20 minutes, if not half an hour, to be able to have that moment when your family see you in your dress for the first time. Definitely. Yeah, it's a gorgeous one. And what are your thoughts on like the whole trend for a first look between the bride and groom, when before they actually do the aisle walk, a bride and groom might meet in private, just two of them? Do you like that? Yes. Or do you think it's so I've only shot two. I think it's from like a personal preference point of view with my couples. They want to have the moment when they walk down the aisle. Personally, if and when I get married. That's not on the cards anytime soon. But I would do it simply because I kind of feel like that moment when you see each other for the first time is a little bit lost when you walk down the aisle. There's a lot of you're very nervous, and like you're going to be. You get to the front and you've got the registrar like looking at you to see if you're going to cry, like waiting with a tissue, and you can just feel like everyone looking at you. I personally would want that moment in private, I think. And then even when you do walk down the aisle, it's still such a special moment. I don't think it takes away from it. So yeah, I just think I would be very nervous about walking down the aisle and having that moment rushed. And I'd want to have it in private.
I would agree with that to an extent, because also walking down the aisle can be very much about like the dress, the impact, the look, how everything looks, how you look, and I think that personal moment is a little bit lost. It's an interesting one, because I do like the drama of that moment too. So it's definitely one for each individual to decide on, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
What about after the day? So what can the couple expect from you, or photographers in general? What do you deliver to your couple after the day?
So I send a few sneak peek images off as soon as I can, whether that's the next day or within a few days. I tend to send about 10 images of the day just for them to see. I'm a very impatient person, and I would want to see a few images from the wedding day that aren't shot on phone. So yeah, I send those off, and then I turn the whole of the wedding, all the wedding photos around in 4 weeks, and then they get all the images. So I tend to deliver about 700 images for a full wedding day. They get all of those in an online gallery, and then I also do a USB stick and a few prints in a box. I just print kind of a few key moments. I think it's quite nice to have something
nice. Yeah, that's a lovely
physical
touch.
Yeah, have something physical when you first receive your wedding photos rather than just a stick. So that's what I do, and then everyone has access to that online gallery. The bride and groom have the option to make photos private if they don't want people to see like getting ready photos and stuff. They've got the option to make those private before they send the gallery link out to all the guests.
And what about albums? Do your couples generally go for an album?
I do offer albums, yes. I use a Yorkshire-based supplier. They are the best in the UK. They're absolutely lush, and I've got quite a few couples this year who've now moved to next year, but this year who have ordered albums, and I'm very excited to get designing them once I've got all the wedding photos back. So they pick the images that go into it, I design it, send them the proof. We can switch stuff in and out as much as they want until they're happy with it. Then we send it off to print. So yeah.
Wow, yeah. We went for a wedding album for our wedding photos, and I'm so pleased that we did, because I have no idea where my USB stick is. I have no idea whether it was CDs or discs. I can't remember 10 years ago. But we do have our wedding album on our coffee table in the kitchen right in front of us, and it's there for me to open whenever I want. And I do quite often have a little bit of a flick through, and it's something that I would massively recommend is for couple. It'd be my number one recommendation for after the wedding, is to spend some money on a wedding album. Do you price that as part of your packages, or is it an add-on?
I offer albums as an add-on because there's so many different options with them, different cover options and layout options and all that kind of stuff, so people can pick and choose exactly what they want.
Yeah, that's nice. And then it's something that will look beautiful in their home, I think, for years to come, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would be your dream wedding to shoot?
I'm really into barn weddings and kind of all the fairy lights in the world. But yeah, anything like, love a marquee, big fan of a marquee. Obviously from a photography point of view, there's loads of light everywhere in a marquee. But yeah, personally, my personal preference is a barn and just all the fairy lights.
And what about destination? Where would you choose in the world? I'm doing a lot of daydreaming about travel at the moment, so
yeah. South of France.
Yeah, nice.
In the mountains in Italy. I mean, you can just kind of go on forever, can't you? But yeah, big fan of a lot of landscapes and mountains and all that kind of vibe.
Yeah, beautiful. And so I got to work with you most working on our magazine, on our glossy print magazine Unveiled, and that's how Freya and I got to really know each other very well. We did a trip together in January this year to Siena, which was amazing. It was like a girls' holiday, really, wasn't it? We had a great time, us and the team, a very small team with lovely makeup artist called Natasha Jane and great model Pip Phillips. So we had a great time and really came up with some beautiful results, which I think is a hallmark of when the team really get on and work together beautifully in a fabulous setting. So why do you like to work on styled shoots, Freya?
I love the creative side of it and the time that you get to play about. Obviously, like I've said with the wedding day, I don't spend a lot of time doing portraits because that's not what my couples want. But being able to do a styled shoot, you get all the time in the world and you get to work with the most amazing teams and just pull together and be creative. And the one in Siena was just an absolute dream. It was gorgeous, so beautiful. So yeah, just the kind of creative side of it I absolutely love.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is they're quite hard work, a style shoot, because they are literally all day. You're on your feet, you're kind of thinking, you're setting up. You learn a lot, don't you, from that just from one day of it. You really kind of learn, about positioning, about posing, about light, about texture, about colors. It all sort of comes together, and it's an experience. It's not it's not an easy experience, but you get so much out of it, don't you? And there's relationships, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the first one that we did last year, I could not believe the time that it took. It was like a full day shooting, and I don't think I'd really realised before how long it took to get those images out at the end of it. But yeah, by the end of it, you're all friends. You all get on.
Yeah, and I think from a styled shoot, you then sort of take that all away, all the things you learn, and put it into your wedding work.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting to work with a team and see your sides of things that I don't see on a wedding day, like all the time that hair and makeup takes and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's really interesting to see that on a styled shoot, and know that the makeup artist has probably been there since 6 a.m. when I turn up at 10 to start photographing like the prep bits. Actually, the makeup artist has been there like 3-4 hours before me doing all the bridesmaids makeup and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a newfound respect for kind of everyone's part in the chain, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's really interesting to do style shoots and see that side of it, and then kind of know how other bits work on a wedding day, and then obviously shooting portraits, being able to have the time to play with stuff in a styled shoot. You get to know what works and what doesn't. So in that small amount of time that you've got on a wedding day, you can kind of use those skills that you've learned to do that on the day.
Definitely, it's always a learning experience for us. Every shoot we do, we learn new tricks, new tips, new stuff. It's we love our style shoots with Unveiled for sure. Favorite part of my job. So Freya, what's your favorite part of your job? What's the best bit?
Oh, that's so hard. All of it. I love all of it. Just every aspect of what I do. I mean, obviously, I've said previously, like the people, the relationships that I build, not just with my couples and my clients, but within the industry. Because I'm now a few years in, it's so nice to kind of to meet people and be on their journey as well of being self-employed and doing what they love. It's been really interesting to get to know people, not just from a professional point of view, but like actually get to know you on a personal level, and be friends like that. So yeah, as much as I love like the photography side of things, and I'm very geeky about all of the photography bit of it, I do love the business side, and the back end of that, which are the relationships and the networks that you build within that.
Yeah, it's a good industry to be in for sure. And I think at the moment we're really all supporting each other in this lockdown in the UK as well. We're doing lots more online for our couples and our readers and our industry friends and our industry sponsors, and it's heartwarming to see how everyone's pulling together on the whole to support each other, and that's what it's all about, really. At the end of the day, it's all about love, isn't it? It's all about the love, Freya.
It is. It is indeed.
All about the love. So how can a couple who like your work, if they've seen your Instagram, I'll pop your handle again here, and or if they think they'll get on with you from this chat, how can they get in touch with you, see more of your work, and sort of start this booking process?
So they can get in touch with me via Instagram or via email, whichever is easiest. I've got an inquiry form on my website, which is pretty kind of straightforward. It gives you the template of the details that I need in terms of actually taking a booking. And then I'm in the process of updating my website and putting all my recent work on there as well. So there'll be more blog posts and stuff for people to have a flick through and have a nosy at previous weddings.
Thanks, Freya. We've had absolutely loads of technical difficulties with this. You probably won't see it in the edit, but it's taken a long time to get this interview down. So Freya's been and I think we've had a couple more cups of coffee than usual. So we're going to head off from this call absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, definitely.
Which will be helpful in my editing, for sure.